What's up guys, my name's Chris and recently I spent 2 months traveling India with my wife. In today's video I'm going to go over the things that we did, the places that we visited, and also the cost of all these things to give you an idea of how much a trip to India might be for you, and also give you an idea of some cool activities that you can do. So I'm going to be covering the attractions, the food, the transport, and also the accommodation. So first we started off in Delhi, which is where we flew into. We visited a beautiful tomb called Humayun's tomb, which is the tomb of the second Mughal emperor. So that cost 600 rupees per person. It is quite big, you could easily spend about 2 hours there. It also features a very beautiful garden as well, and the main building just looks magnificent. Next we visited the India Gate, which is free to visit. It is also worth visiting, although it was very popular when we went, probably because it is for free. After Delhi we visited Agra to see the famous Taj Mahal, one of the wonders of the world. The ticket price for us was 1,300 rupees per person, and this ticket allowed us to go inside as well and see the tomb. If you pay 1,100, you'll only be able to see the Taj Mahal from the outside. We then visited Rajasthan, which was one of my favorite states in India. First we visited Jaipur, which is called the Pink City because of the color of the majority of the buildings there. The first place we went to was the City Palace, which cost 700 rupees per person, but that also included the entry fee for places like the Amber Fort and some other places. It is very small and won't take that long to explore, but it did feature some of the most amazing designs and patterns, easily the best doorways that I've ever seen in my life traveling anywhere. Another great place to visit is Nahargarh Fort, which probably gives you the best views of the city of Jaipur. This costs 200 rupees per person, so quite cheap, and it also features another incredible palace within the fort, so definitely worth visiting. After that we visited Jal Mahal Lake Palace. It is for free because you're not able to go in the lake, but it was interesting to see a palace in the middle of the lake, almost looked like it was floating, so definitely worth visiting also. The next city we visited in Rajasthan was called Jodhpur, also known as the Blue City. The first place we visited there was Mehranga Fort, which is one of the oldest and biggest forts in India. And this cost 600 rupees per person, and also featured an audio set explaining the history of the place, so that was really good. Once again, you're just going to see some incredible architecture, more rooms with intricate designs, and also it was kind of like a museum, so there was many places explaining different things, so a very interesting place to visit. We explored the Blue City, which is what Jodhpur is famous for. There is nothing really specific to see there, you just walk around all the little alleyways looking at all the amazing blue buildings. Also a really raw, authentic place. It's not really that touristy at all, so you're going to see the locals living their lives, and yeah, just a very interesting place to visit. By accident we actually came across a really cool stepwell, which was the first time we had ever seen one of these things before, and once again just a really impressive creation. After Jodhpur we headed to Jaisalmer, also known as the Golden City. This was cool because it was the first time we had ever visited a desert looking city. Everything was yellow because it's made from the golden sandstone. The main thing to visit there is the Jaisalmer Fort, which is actually for free because it is a livable fort. 4,000 people live within the fort, and you can even stay within the fort in a hotel if you would like to. Within the fort you can visit the Jain temples, which cost 200 rupees per person. And that was for 2 temples which are right next to each other. They're both very small, but it was one of the coolest temples that we've ever visited. The interior was covered in the most incredible stone carvings that we've ever seen, so definitely worth visiting. Another attraction is Gadisar Lake, which you can visit for free. There isn't much to do there, but you can do a boat tour, which is about 200 rupees for the boat. Then we headed on to a place called Patwan Haveli, which was a series of palaces from the 1800s, and that cost 250 rupees per person. There you'll be able to see how the bedrooms were, the kitchens, there was lots of musical instruments and the furniture. So it gave you an insight of how the rich were living in the 1800s. Our best experience in Rajasthan was at a place called Kuri Village. There was a really authentic local desert village, and we were pretty much the only tourists in the village. Everybody was really friendly there. The kids would always want to play with you. They were really excited to see foreigners. And that is where we did the camel safari in the desert. So for only 700 rupees per person, we spent the night in the desert. We slept in the open air, seeing many shooting stars and falling stars because there is completely pitch black. And for that price, we also got 3 meals included. And it was a private tour with 2 guides, so extremely cheap for what you get in. We then headed on to Udaipur, also known as the City of the Lakes or the Venice of the East, because it features many different man-made lakes and rivers. First we went to the Lake Palace, which is now a hotel and considered to be one of the best hotels in India. We just looked at it from afar, so it was for free, but you can also do boat rides around there. Many people were doing the boat tours, but I'm not actually sure how much that cost. We didn't do it. Once again, we visited another city palace, which was 300 rupees per person. The city palace is quite big, so you're easily going to spend 1 to 2 hours there. And once again, you're just going to see many amazing rooms with amazing designs, colourful rooms as well. And it also features a museum. Our next stop was the mega city of Mumbai. There we visited the Gateway of India and the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, which you can visit for free. Then from the India Gate, we got on a ferry to head to a place called Elephanta Island. So the return fee for the ferry was 205 rupees and the entrance fee to the island was 600 rupees per person. And this features some incredible ancient Buddhist and Hindu caves, probably the oldest things that we saw during our stay in India. And overall it took around 4 to 5 hours, so it is going to pretty much take up your entire day. After that we went to Marine Drive, which is a great sunset spot and a place where many of the locals just hang out to watch the sunset. A great spot indeed. We then visited Goa, which was one of the best places that we visited in India and one of the best beach destinations that we have ever been to. Some of our favourite places in Goa were Velsau, which is a quiet village, not very popular with tourists, so the beaches were completely empty. There weren't many hotels or anything, and not even restaurants, so it was just a really authentic local village on the coast, very beautiful and calm. After that we went to one of the most popular destinations, Arambol, which is mainly popular with Russians and hippies. The beach isn't the nicest in Goa, but it has a really nice vibe and definitely worth visiting. Every day at the sunset they have the dancing with the bongo drums, the hippies come out and get loose, so that was interesting to see. And it just had a really laid back vibe, just like the majority of places in Goa. Our favourite place in Goa overall was Palolem Beach. We found that to be the most beautiful, and there we even did a private river tour that included some eagle feeding, and that was 800 rupees for the boat. It lasts about 1 to 2 hours, but you see all these eagles flying right in front of you, so very amazing. And also the river itself is really nice and has a really nice setting. We also went to another place near Palolem called Butterfly Beach, and to get there we took a kayak, which was 300 rupees per hour, and that is for 2 people. And this was one of the nicest beaches that we saw. It is very small, so it can get quite busy if there's a lot of boat tours going there, but yeah, you'll find some moments where the boats leave and it gets pretty much empty, and it's just a very beautiful place. Another awesome beach that we went to in Goa near Palolem was called Agonda Beach. It's a lot quieter than Palolem, less developed. Very similar to Palolem, just a lesser developed version, but definitely worth visiting and a great place to chill out once again. We ended our trip in the beautiful state of Kerala. First we visited Munnar, which is famous for its tea plantations and hill stations. On the first day we got a 4-hour rickshaw tour, which was 800 rupees for 2 people, and the driver will take you to many different stops where you can get out, take pictures, look around, and if you go at the right time of the day you'll even get to see some elephants. Unfortunately we weren't able to, But yeah, the tour features some amazing views and it's definitely a great introduction to Munnar. And then on the second day, we didn't spend any money on a tour, but we decided to just walk around the plantations by ourselves, and you're just gonna see so many incredible stuff. Munnar is one of those places that it doesn't matter where you go, everything's gonna look beautiful. After Munnar, we decided to visit the most famous attraction in Kerala, which is the backwaters. We went to Aleppo, which is one of the main places that people visit to go on the tour of the backwaters. We did a private boat tour, which lasted around 4 to 5 hours, and that was 1,800 rupees for the boat. Definitely one of the most beautiful boat rides that we've ever done, and we could see why this was one of the famous things to do in Kerala and even India. It was one of the most beautiful things that we had done during our entire trip. As you're floating down the river, you'll be able to see all the locals' houses, people cleaning their clothes and their dishes, stuff like that in the river, just living their local life. So very interesting to see people living their life this way. And also the entire scenery was just non-stop beauty, just coconut trees everywhere at the side of the river. So a truly amazing experience. We ended our India trip in Varkala, which is a bit of a hippie beach destination in Kerala. And it was different to any beaches that we had seen in Goa because it was on a cliff edge. So yeah, very unique looking beach and an amazing place to chill out. Okay, now I'm gonna get on to the price of the food. So obviously, since we were going to tourist destinations, a lot of the time we were eating in restaurants with tourist prices. So just to give you some examples, a lot of the days we would have a set breakfast that would already include toast, eggs, some juice, fruit, and a masala chai, and usually we could get that set breakfast anywhere from 190 rupees per person to 250 rupees, and that would always be a huge filling breakfast. A lot of the time we weren't even able to eat all the food. Other than that, a simple pancake might just cost you 150 rupees, or a bowl of porridge could cost anywhere from 150 rupees to 180 in touristic restaurants. For lunch or dinner, I'd usually be spending anywhere from 160 to 180, and that would be for a bowl of dal or palak paneer or maybe chana masala. And with that, you'd also have to buy a separate dish of rice, which could be around 60 rupees, or maybe you'd want naan, which would be around 50 to 80 rupees, depending on the restaurant. And if I wanted a chai, it'd usually be around 30 to 50 rupees overall. I was also able to get a veggie rice or veggie noodle dish for around 200 rupees per person. So usually for lunch or dinner, I was spending anywhere around 200 to 350 rupees per meal per person. Now, if you go to local restaurants further away from the tourist attractions, you can get way cheaper food. So in local restaurants, we were even eating for around 50 rupees per person sometimes, or 100. You can find extremely cheap food, but you will have to go outside of the tourist attractions, obviously. Now I'm gonna cover the cost of transport. So between the big cities and states, we use trains, we use buses and flights. So yeah, we did cover a lot of the different forms of transport. So I'm just gonna go over the price of a few of the different ones that we got. So from Agra to Jaipur, we got a second class seated train, which lasted 4 hours, and that was 550 rupees per person. From Jaipur to Jodhpur, we got a third class sleeper train with AC, and that lasted 7 hours, and that was 595 rupees. And then from Udaipur to Mumbai, we also got the third class AC train sleeper, and that was 16 hours, and that was 1,575 rupees per person. For buses, we went from Jodhpur to Jaisalmer in a non-AC sleeper bus, which took 6 to 7 hours. And that was 530 rupees per person. Keep in mind that a lot of the buses don't have bathrooms, but you can ask the driver to stop for you if you need to go to the bathroom urgently, and they will stop at places to have food where you can also go to the bathroom as well. So for the buses, we would usually book them online on a site called Redbus, and then we'd be able to buy it with our credit cards or debit cards. For the train, there is a site called irctc.co.in where you can get the train ticket. The only problem for us is our American cards weren't working on that site, so we'd always have to get people from the hotel to book it for us, and they would usually take a 200 rupee commission per person, so that's how we always book the train tickets. The only domestic flight we took was from Mumbai to Goa because we were kind of tired of the long train rides and the long bus rides, and that cost us 3,200 per person, and that was booking just a few days in advance, so you can probably get it a lot cheaper if required. To get around within a lot of the cities, we were always using Uber because it was always way cheaper than what the taxis and the rickshaws were charging us. Obviously, I can't give any fixed price for Uber, it always changes, but it was a lot better than using the other forms of transport where you're probably going to be charged 4 to 5 times more than what you can see on Uber. In Goa, there is no Uber, it's not allowed there, so they have their own app called Goa Miles, which is kind of like Uber. It is a lot more expensive. In Goa, we also just use the local buses a lot. We didn't get a scooter, and usually a trip on the buses would be around 40 rupees per person. To go between many of the towns, you might actually have to get multiple buses, so 2 to 3 buses, but it is very cheap either way. Now, for accommodation, we usually always stayed in cheap places because we are backpackers, so the price we were paying was always around 700 rupees to 1,150 rupees. The most expensive place that we stayed was in the Jaisalmer fort that I mentioned before, and that was 1,350 rupees. In Goa, a lot of the time we were spending around 700 for a place right near the beach or sometimes on the beach. And the best place we stayed in Goa, which was completely facing the sea in Palolem, was 1,150, so yeah, really good price, but that was for a fan room. In the desert village that I mentioned, Kuri village in Jaisalmer, we stayed in a place that was 700 rupees, and it even included 3 meals, but it was the most basic, simple place we've ever stayed, and the actual hut was made out of cow manure. So definitely one of the most unique places that we're ever going to stay in our lives, but a very cool experience. So that is it for the price breakdown. Hopefully this gave you an idea of how much things might cost on your trip to India. Keep in mind that obviously you can do things more expensive or even cheaper than we did. This is just the prices of our trip. On my channel, I do have an India playlist that features 25 daily vlogs of India. If you want to see each of these areas in more detail, feel free to check those out, and in each of those videos I also always include the price of everything, the activities and the accommodation, so you'll be able to see the price of everything in those videos also. So drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you like to see other travel videos of mine, and I'll see you around in the next videos.